Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the Storm Postgame Report. I know I am unfortunately a few games behind. Truthfully, as I've told a few of our fans, it's been tough, trying to keep up the same level of Storm coverage we've had last year and into the beginning of this year without Christian, as Christian took a few other jobs, you know, that were, going to give him a bigger opportunity. And Rowan just completed well, I think she's still trying to complete the unpacking situation, right? Of a big move to Colorado with her partner, Kindle. So, really excited for both of them, of course. As a boss, I want to be, encouraging of, my folks getting better opportunity. We've done that with our photographers, of course, with Liv and Liz and Rio and Kevin, Sage, the list goes on. Um, and Reed, who actually works for the Storm now. So, you know, but it is tough, when I have to take on more of the mantle of things. I'm doing stuff for all of the, as I shrink my shoulders a little bit, 44, 45 teams that we cover, and we're adding teams to that coverage still. So bear with me, please. I apologize. I haven't been as up to date. I had a conversation with Twitter follower at Nika's 2 points. And they were very appreciative of the work that we do, and I appreciate that, but I know that we can be better. So we're going to be better. So we're going to get back to doing these more regularly scheduled. I'm going to try to get more different pieces of Storm content going, despite it just being me. So, yeah, unfortunately, this isn't the greatest game. Sorry to open on a tangent. This isn't the greatest game to recap. It's another frustrating loss. I mean, I can only type the word frustrating, and mention the issues that the Storm have had throughout the course of the season so many times. Seattle falls by a score of 78 to 74 to the Indiana Fever. Second time they've lost to the Fever, this time in Seattle. Second time they've lost to the Fever in Seattle, not this time. Um, yeah, two times they've faced Indiana, both. Wait, one. Yeah, yeah. Two times they've faced Indiana so far this year. They face them one more time. That's going to be in the road on August 26th. Two times they've faced him at home this year. Two times they've struggled. That first time, they game planned well. They took care of Caitlin Clark, but Aaliyah Boston went off. This time, just kind of a grind. In this one, Nneka Ogwumike kind of struggled from the field. Um, you didn't get too much from your bench outside of Dom Malonga, who nice 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. Another great game from Dom. There are positives to take. I will talk about the positives for sure. Um, oh, I am recording. Okay, I got really worried for a second that I wasn't recording, and I just been mumbling nonsense at nothing. Um, you know, Yeah, it's great. There are some positive takeaways from this. You still have four players scoring in double digits. There's some milestones in here, but at the end of the day, this was an important game. I mean, you come into this game tied record-wise with the Fever. You wanted to try and split the season series at this point 1-1. Instead, you've now lost the tiebreaker to Indiana, and that could, at some point play a role. Um, it's worrying, to see Seattle in this sort of situation, and it's not necessarily there's not exactly, excuse me, a great chance that they're going to be able to do anything ahead of the trade deadline. Sorry, on the 7th at noon our time, 3 o'clock Eastern. So it's worrying. I'm worried. I know I've tried to be pretty positive. I generally am pretty positive. I still think there's great talent, enough talent on this team, to challenge anybody. We've seen them challenge anybody, but you just worry about, maybe when some of these starters don't have their best games, what happens then? What happens, God forbid, knock on wood, something bad happens to the starters where you're going to miss one of them for an extended period, or they're not, good to go for the playoffs. Um, you've gotten, oh God, I don't know if I want to look at the Alicia Clark game log. Boy. Oh God. So wait, one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. And Alicia Clark has gone scoreless in six of her last eight games. Yep. She is averaging more points, I feel like, in her last eight, more personal fouls per game in her last eight than she is points. It's not great, folks. And that's something, I'll talk about it. I'll get to it because I don't want to, I tend to do this thing where I start talking and, we go into this different route and this different route and this different route and this, so I got to keep it on schedule. Um, but, one of the big holdups to a potential deal for Seattle that would help them improve would be that contract that they signed Alicia Clark to. So, you know, it's not great. It's not great at all. You don't play Zaya Cook or Mackenzie Holmes at all in this game. And it was Zaya Cook's underlying numbers. Someone posted those on Twitter the other day. They are not good. Um, it's bad, man. Um, I mean, Seattle ultimately did try to make a comeback here. They had a nice run towards the end of the third quarter. They made an 11-0 run. Um, with about 2:14 left on the clock. They had been down 73 to 61. They push it to 73-72. And I think, okay, they're pushing it. Skylar Diggins had this great play where she forced a steal. She got this steal. It looked like she was going to go in for the layup. It was contested. It looked like Dominique. I thought initially that Dominique Malonga had a putback dunk, and I was like, oh my God, it's her first dunk, and it's coming in this big moment. No, it was just her trying to grab the ball through the hoop. The hoop moved, and that's what I thought it was. Skylar, who had gone to the ground because of the contest on her layup, was able to get back up and put the ball back up for a big bucket, which just that whole play was massive for Skylar to get the steal, and to get the bucket, to continue that run. Um, but ultimately, it wasn't enough. Seattle had was within 3 points on a few different occasions, and they kept clunking 3 pointers. They were one for six, I believe the number was. Um, from 3 point range in the fourth quarter. I believe 0 for 5 on their last five attempts. So they made like one of their first, and then they just, completely struggled. It looked pretty decent to begin. Seattle got half their points in the first quarter from forcing seven turnovers on Indiana and converting them into buckets. They had five steals in the first, matches a team season high for steals in an opening quarter. They shot 50% from the field during the second and went 4 for 4 from the free throw line. The problem during that second quarter, though, is that they got outscored by 7 points. They gave up a 25-point quarter to Indiana. Um, and they go into the halftime break down by what, 8 points. Um, they were able to chip away in the third. They had a 10-1 run to make it a two-possession game after they had been down by 13, as much as 13 at one point. And that struggle in the second quarter, the inability to hit the shots late ultimately is why they weren't able to overcome sorry, is why they weren't able to get the win. It was pretty basket for basket. I mean, the teams were tied at 20 points in the fourth quarter. Um, but the struggles in that second quarter ultimately kind of loom large for Seattle. And they've got this loss here. So, it is interesting. There are positives. Again, Seattle scored 9 second gen points in the second half. They held Indiana without any second chance points after in the second half. The Seattle bench outscored the Indiana bench. The only Fever player to score on the bench was Demiris Dantas with 6 points on 3 of 7 shooting. Chloe Bibby went scoreless in 6 minutes. Sydney Colson went scoreless in 7 minutes. Lexi Hull went scoreless in 17 minutes, 0 for 3 from the field. Um, just some big performances. Seattle struggled inside, particularly. Yeah, that is something like we've talked on this show. Um, and on our Storm post-game reports about Seattle, right? And how they work inside and how the league is largely a league dominated by teams that can win the game inside the paint, right? Um, Normally Seattle does that. They did not do that today. They gave up 52 points in the paint compared to their 46. Um, they won the rebounding battle, 33 to 32, which is it was largely same rebounding numbers. Seattle won the offensive boards tally 6-5. They were tied in defensive boards 27-27. This is a putrid game from three-point land. Seattle just two makes on 15 attempts. Indiana four makes on 22 attempts. Again, it was largely inside, and it's been weird to see Seattle struggle defensively inside. Um, as he can only do so much, and there's still the question looming of uh, what was she dealing with health wise, right? Um, because there was the quote from Noelle where she said, she's not gonna like that I'm saying this, but she's getting healthier. You're like, what do you mean by that? It's questionable. So Jeff, Storm Chasers Jeff Brown from Storm WNBA Storm Chaser, asked Noel post game. He said, he talked about the points in the paint, like we just talked about, right? And asked about a lineup with Dom, NECA, and Ezzy. Um, and she didn't really answer it, which wasn't great. But someone brought up this great graph, WNBA interior defensive analysis, volume versus effectiveness, from at Boong, Boong 3019 on Twitter. Um, Dominique Malonga is quite, and she's in good company. She's up in this area with Aaliyah Boston, Ezzy, Asia Wilson, Brittany Griner. Not quite up there with Ryan Howard and John Paul Jones. Um, Dom is leading the pack in this graph. So makes you wonder. Makes you wonder. She's been doing great. I still don't think it means you should take Ezzy off the floor and replace her with Dom in that regard. But so yeah, I would like to see all of them together. Uh oh, interesting. Okay. Um Yeah, no, I don't know. I do wonder about that. Dom's been playing really great lately. She's averaging 10, 7, I think 10 points, just over 7.5 rebounds, 1.6 blocks across her last 5 games. I was thinking about this too. I was waiting for the lineup to get posted, and I said, maybe we try someone else as opposed to Erica. Maybe we get Erica off the bench and um, get her coming off the bench instead. So I don't know. I I am quite worried, especially worried considering you look at this box score and you think back to this game. Sophie Cunningham had a good game. Maga Barbie has struggled heavily throughout the course of the season, despite all these dumbass accounts and basically right wing news channels saying that she's this a WNBA star. She's not. Let's stop that. 17 points in this game, though. 17 points, 5 for 6 from the field. Four of those five makes were from 3-point land. Um, she had three free throws in there. Uh, it's not good. It's not good. It's concerning. She added 5 rebounds and 2 assists to that total. Old friend Natasha Howard, remember Natasha Howard? Was the scoring leader in this game with 21 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. She had a revenge game, even though she's been on other teams since for a few years now. Um, outside of this, outside of I can't really even say outside. Seattle did well against Aaron McDonald and Kelsey Mitchell, former Husky Aaron McDonald. Um, 9 points from McDonald, but on 5 of 10 shooting and 0 for 5 from three. And Kelsey Mitchell 3 for 16, 0 for 8 from three, 9 points. But let's see Natasha Howard, 21 points, 10 of 12 field goals, only the one 3-pointer, so she did all of her work within the arc. Um, it's not great. Leah Boston, not quite the game that she had last time against Seattle, but 16 points on 7 of 11 shooting. Didn't attempt a three again in the arc. She had a double double, 12 rebounds, um, 3 steals as well. Excuse me, sorry for that. And then not Alicia Clark, sorry. Sophie Cunningham having Indiana's 4 made 3-pointers in this one, as everyone else uh, went 0 for 17 as a collective unit. It's just not good. It's not good. Um, it feels so tough to me to criticize NECA um, when she has not the most efficient game. Uh, she shot 35% in this one, 7 for 20, 1 for 4 from three, 16 points, leading your team, 16 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. 5 turnovers though, not great. There were a few key turnovers late that I remember, or during some of those opportunities and runs uh, for Indiana where it just felt like it was adding on for them. Um, Gabby, I put Gabby as our player of the game in our score graphic. 12 points, 9 rebounds though. Again, you've got Gabby Williams leading you in rebounds. Love that from Gabby. Gabby can do everything on the court. I've said this for weeks and for months and for the last few years that she's been on the team, of course. Um, but ideally, she doesn't have to lead you in rebounds. Neither should Skylar. The next closest rebounder is Skylar Diggins with 6 rebounds. Love that Skylar's doing that. There was the quip, after her big game in the All Star game, and she said, "No, he's going to want me to rebound." Skylar got the triple double in Connecticut, and we started to see this rebounding. That's great, but you want to see better numbers rebounding from others. NECA just 3, sorry, Ezzy 5. Um, but yeah, Gabby 12 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal. Gabby led the team in rebounds and assists. Oh, Lord. Ezzy today 8 points, 5 rebounds. Not today, sorry, 8 points, 5 rebounds. Skylar 13 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal. Uh, I have a time. I said this as well during the game when it was happening. Really after that big steal and score that I was talking about a little bit earlier. I don't know where this team would be if they did not have Skylar Diggins. It's a scary thought to have, and I do not like it. It's You really have to wonder. And this is the same woman that, yeah, I have a hard time criticizing her because during the post game, sorry, pre-game press conference, um, Noelle Quinn mentioned that Skylar Diggins was in the gym at 7 in the morning the day after the team's loss to the Sparks the other day, which was her birthday, by the way. So, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, really. So, interesting. Seattle hasn't won two consecutive games, sorry, since July 3rd. So that's now a month ago. Um, let's try and look at the schedule here. I do have it up. All right. Sorry about that. Oh Lord, this is ugly to look at. They've lost two, four, six, four of their last six. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, the road loss. No, the home loss to Dallas, the road loss to Washington, the losses now back to back to the Sparks and Indiana. Uh, and it doesn't get any better in terms of the next four. I kind of, well, I would say that, but that would be interesting. Your opportunity to try and bounce back and snap the losing streak at 2 games comes against the Minnesota Lynx. Uh, so that's not great. Who've scored, I think, 100 points in 3 of their last 4. Um, you've beaten them before. You should have beaten them in the first contest, but it's not the most ideal bounce back candidate. And they just had a Dejanay Carrington. Um, they're human. Again, they are human, and you've shown that you can beat them. But I'm just saying it's not going to be an easy test. I think that's fair. You play Vegas, I kind of don't care. Vegas. I was gonna say the same to the Sparks, but they just beat you on your home court. So that's not great. And then you play two home games against the Atlanta Dream. The first normally at Climate Pledge Arena on the 13th, and then the 15th is up in Vancouver at the Rogers Arena. That's the cool Vancouver game that they're doing. I was thinking about going out there, but I kind of slacked and I don't have my real ID yet. And I have to update my passport at the same time. So not great. That's on me. Um, And then you play Phoenix after them. These games are all coming in pretty rapid succession as well. Um, the last few have, 2 days, one day between the Sparks and Fever game. There's going to be just the game on against the Sparks upcoming on the 10th of August. Uh, is followed up 3 days later against the Dream. After that, they play the Dream again 2 days later. They play Phoenix again 2 days after that. They play the Sky 2 days after that. So the punches are coming quick, and that just feeds into my concern about this roster because Skylar Diggins, Gabby Williams, and Nneka Ogwumike, and that three can help you beat anybody in the world, right? But if you have to play them 30 plus, 34 plus minutes every game, as they largely have been for a good chunk of the season, eventually they will get tired. Eventually they will get gassed. Eventually they will make a mistake, right? That's human. It's going to happen. No matter how hard they train, it's not their fault. It is the fault of the organization for not the organization, the front office for not um, front office and the coaching staff, honestly, for not being able to, pick pockets a better time to rest them, for not playing your bench more, not playing Dominique Malonga more. The games where she didn't play at all, unacceptable. The games where she played like less than 10 minutes, unacceptable. Um, Front office's fault for signing Alicia Clark to that contract. We've been asked a lot about Alicia Clark. I guarantee you, when I post this, someone, the same fan, is going to ask me why Alicia Clark is on this team. Trust me, I get asked enough. I wonder that question enough. I love Alicia Clark. She is going to always be a Storm legend, but obviously, with the heightened pressure uh, of this year's roster, the expectations with this roster of winning a title with Skylar Diggins and Nneka Ogwumike being in the latter chapters of their career. The pressure and expectation of winning a title when really there's no certified top dogs outside of it, Minnesota, and even Minnesota has shown their moments of weakness throughout the course of the season, right? The pressure to win with Gabby Williams, the way she's played this year, alongside Nneka, who continues to knock down records every single game, seemingly. Skylar Diggins, who seems to be in another prime of her career. Um, you know, and with uh, Dominique Malonga, with this number two overall pick and Dominique Malonga that shows all world level talent in the spurts that you give her, right? Um, the pressure and the expectation given how essentially everybody will be a free agent next year across the league. Who knows what this roster looks like next year? I don't know. I mean, outside of Jordan Horston, Dominique Malonga, Lexi Brown is under contract. Um, I think Nika Mule still has a year. So, oh yes, sorry. Was asked about Alicia Clark, Storm Chaser Jeff, or referencing Jeff again. Um, put in the thought that, hey, maybe this was an addition by subtraction in a way that, the Storm take Clark, they sign her, they bring her back, they bring a 3-and-D player, and they take her away from Vegas, in hopes to, make Vegas weaker. And I can understand that. But at that contract, fuck, Seattle right now, and I guess I can kind of transition this a little bit. I know I've kind of talked about chunks and spurts of this game. Uh, But I can, people again asking me about the deadline. I've seen questions not directed at me about the deadline. And Seattle has $223 of cap space, according to her hoop stats. Okay. Unless they're able to move Lexi Brown's contract, Alicia Clark's contract, I don't think they can trade Katie Lou Samuelson in her contract. And even then, that would kind of be a dick move. But when you're trying to win a title, who cares about dick moves? Um, when you're trying to do that, oh yeah, no. Outside of being able to move that, what do you do? Like if you're not able to move those, like that's the first issue. Like someone was asking me this. Oh yeah, one of my friends that works in works with the talent. Um, she helps bring the talent around the broadcasters and the play-by-play folks, right? The analysts. She works in the city, bringing them around, and we're talking about this storm yesterday, actually, after the game, and I was like, I don't know what they have assets wise to. Oh, interesting. To trade. Who wants Alicia Clark in that contract? You would have to add a sweetener, no doubt. Um, mm, sorry, uh, something else happened that I had to keep an eye on. Um, you know, you do have some picks that should be good in the Sparks pick in the first round and the Aces pick in the first round. You've got your own first round pick. Um, so any of those could look enticing, but also you don't know what those two are going to be. Yours is going to be in the latter half of the draft. You know, um, but the Sparks started winning a couple of games. They beat you. Um, the Aces seem to be toiling in mediocrity this season. Um, after having squandered, any further ability this year to build further around Asia Wilson. Uh, you're not trading Gabby Williams, Skylar Diggins, Nneka Ogwumike, or Ezzy Magbagor. I would be shocked if they trade Ezzy, if they would be trade, if they traded Ezzy. Um, Supremely shocked. Um, because of how young she is and what she does that goes unnoticed on the box score. Um, and I mention her because they're not trading any of those top three. They're not trading Gabby, Skylar, or Nneka. That is not happening. 100%. That is not happening. You can look me in this little camera. It's not happening. I feel that way like 99.5% about Ezzy. So then everyone else is free game outside of Dom because Dom is the future of your franchise. You can't trade Jordan or Nika because their contracts are suspended. I believe that is a thing. I'm sorry. I wish I was better with the CBA in this league. Some of these details aren't as easily available as another league, so it's more difficult. Um, but it doesn't give you a lot to offer. I mean, if maybe given Lexi Brown's somewhat improved play, maybe someone wants to take a flyer on her. Sure, but she's making 96,000. Who are you going to get that's going to fit in that budget? Everyone wants to get Marina Mabry. Um, let's see here if I can go to the team cap sheets. Hoop stats is a great reference point, by the way, for these contracts. Um, where are the Connecticut Sun? There you are. Oh yeah, Marina's making $210,000 this year. Okay. Um, so you'd like have to trade Alicia Clark and Isaiah Cook, Kenzie Holmes, Tiffany Mitchell, one of those to make that work, and probably throw in a draft pick because I don't think Connecticut would want to just get rid of her like that, right? Unless she wants out, which I don't imagine so. Um, so It's kind of grim, man, in terms of the trade deadline. I don't think they can do much. I think they're pretty hamstrung. It would require some magic, some wizardry from Talisa Ray, the general manager, and Pokey Chapman, who's the assistant general manager, is in addition to being assistant coach. It's not good. It's not good. Again, you could trade one of those draft picks, but again, you don't know what that would be. You don't know maybe if you would feel foolish for giving that up, right? So, I will stop talking about the trade deadline and move on here. Um, my overall feeling is that of concern, right? Um, you know, Seattle doesn't need post depth. It's highly unlikely they get Marina Mabry. Uh, you'd like for them to be able to get someone else who could handle the ball, take some weight off of Skylar, find their own shot, uh, add some defensive depth as well, because obviously the paint scoring from other teams is really looming large. Um, and I think uh, without that, I don't know if Seattle really seriously competes. I think the playoffs are a thing. I think they're making the playoffs. I don't think that's a doubt. I it is. I've said it on the Fox 13 podcast on the sidelines that I believe this team's ceiling, when I considering how they've been overworking the starting three, your big three, is a second round exit. Um, I'm feeling like this is another first round exit with how this is going. Unfortunately, I'm very worried about this. Um, and you're gonna waste an incredible year of Skylar Diggins. You're gonna waste an incredible, also historic year for Skylar Diggins. You're gonna waste um um you're gonna waste another historic year um with Neka Gumake. You're going to waste Gabby Williams' best season in the WNBA. So yeah, man, I don't know. I'm worried. I'm worried. Let me know what you think. Um, about this. Again, I think this team can beat anybody, and they've beaten anybody. Uh, but wait, beaten anybody but Washington. They have not beat the Mystics yet this year. Nope. Yeah, loss at home, loss on the road. Um, I don't know, and things can change. We've seen crazier things happen, but just the deficiencies are there. And they're not bad stretch right now. Again, they've lost four of their last six. Excuse me. Dominic Malonga looks good. You're still getting, strong contributions from NECA, from Gabby, from Skylar. Um, but it's not good. Let me know what you think. Again, I'm always happy to, have healthy conversations in the comments. If you call me an idiot and or bald, those are both accurate, but not very helpful, not very conducive to a true conversation. So yeah, till we see you next time. Uh, that next game is Tuesday, tomorrow, August 5th, against the Minnesota Lynx. Minnesota Lynx come into town. Minnesota has won four of their last five and scored 100 or more in three of their last four, including a 100-point game against the Liberty on the 30th of July and a 111 to 58 win against the Aces on the 2nd of August, after dropping 109 on them back on the 25th of July. So two 100-point games against the Aces, who are again boo boo. So, but 100 points against Liberty. So yeah, man. Seattle 16 and 13. They are third in the West, behind Phoenix, behind Minnesota. They're now go back to my WNBA standings. Sixth in the league, behind Indiana, behind Phoenix, who both have 17 wins. Atlanta has 18 wins. So does New York. And they have I called the Aces boo boo. Guess who has just one less win than Seattle? The Aces. So, yeah, until we see you next time, take care of yourselves. Be well. Do whatever you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, were you going to watch the Seattle Storm away games this year?
Away games. Well, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports. So I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See you all here.